Hello and welcome to a Smurd P video, and today we're looking at Transformers Studio Series Autobot Perceptor with Ratbat and Ramhorn, and you could transform in 70 steps. This is based on the 86 Transformers the movie, and we've got this sort of dark, sort of vampiric red and grey going on, which I think is actually really cool. I always love how this just sort of goes around like that. And on the back, Ramhorn, Ratbat, Preceptor. Preceptor tells Blasters radio for reinforcements during the Battle of Autobot City. Everybody who's watched that movie damn well knows that. It should have said, Preceptor is attacked by lots of mini-bots, hence Ramhorn coming to the rescue or something like that. Anyway, there we go. This is quite an annoying release because a lot of people have Preceptor. Preceptor was generally actually quite easy to get. And don't get me wrong, I really like the bot, but they could have easily released, in my mind, rather than making this a bigger release and cost him £10 more, whatever you want to call it, they could have easily done a cassette release. One Autobot, one Decepticon. We would have loved that. I think we could have easily done that. We had seen releases of the likes of Rumble, Frenzy, Spike released in these little packages. I think Hasbro went away from them for some reason. I don't know why, but they did. But it really does irk me that we couldn't have just had a decent mini pack, because it's always sort of scattered. We've got, I think, the Soundwave release at some point, 86. I don't think that has Ratbat, for example. Or I think it just has Laserbeak and Ravage, and then you don't have the other bots. Yeah, it's really not difficult to do one decent job that we would be happy with. Anyway, let's get this out and have a closer look. So out of the packaging, Preceptor looks as good as he did, because the Studio Series 86 Preceptor was in a fantastic looking figure, and this is exactly the same figure. Now, a cool thing about the mini bots is that the weapons that come off them can be used, and you got this one that looks like missiles or something, like little mini rockets. So I do dig that. That is pretty damn awesome, because they have no place in the Auto mode, which is this mode. So very straightforward. This is a solid cassette. Got nice little Autobot signs on there, which will become relevant in the Auto mode. I just hope that it's not a big disappointment like Ravage. And then Ratbats there. Obviously under there, not so solid. You got this little gaps at the bottom, which it means it was always going to be a hard thing for them to achieve. So just going back to Preceptor. So just looking, so you got the microscope bit that just sits on the top there, which is always very, very cool. Very well detailed. Nice Autobot sign there. And then the Preceptor face in there. Nice microscope spinny things. Not a scientist, I don't know. If I remember rightly, you can open this. And obviously that is relevant when he is in that Auto mode as well. And then, yeah, just a very solid piece. So, articulation, arm can go round, single there, no movement on the hand. There is movement on the waist. And if you move this out, you can get that head all the way around, up and down. Can kick forward, you can kick back, you can kick, almost to the side. Nice spin there. And then a single joint there. And then a little movement on the feet. So they are in a great, he is in a great position to get into some articulation poses. Now, I mean, I've sort of griped already, but I do feel disappointed that we haven't got the rest of Blaster's cassettes tapes with him in a better packaging. I feel like that would have made more sense. I get why they've done it with Preceptor, because there is about all that involves Preceptor. And also with Soundwave, we've got this new Studio Series 86 Soundwave. So why wouldn't you release that Soundwave with all of his cassettes to make it the best set ever released? Sometimes I do wonder who leads the helm at Hasbro in making these decisions, because I'd rather buy one set that's got everything rather than lots of dilly things. You're making me buy a Preceptor that I don't actually really want. Most people only bought this because they want the cassettes. So anyway, also you do get his standard gun that came with him, which is very nice, very straightforward, and he is dangerous when using it. There we go. So let me try and transform these and we can have a closer look. Okay, so I thought I'd focus on the cassette bots first of all, because I think that's probably the most important thing for this video. I think what most people really want to see. So as expected, I think Ramhorn suffered from cassette to beast mode. It was always going to be difficult. Same with Ravage, very difficult. However, I still think they did a good job, and you can distinctively see a mouth, 2 horns, and an eye in there. I think they've done a good job. Nice Autobot sign. And then you've got the weapons on the side. He does have little movable feet, which is cool. But he's a bulky thing. But then again, rhinoceroses are known to be bulky mammals. So it does make perfect sense. So I think they've done a considerably good job, considering the difficulty of getting a perfect looking rhinoceros bot out of a tape, a skinny tape. It was always going to be difficult. Now, on the other hand, oh, there we go, fly away. Ratbat does not have that same thing. So they sacrifice a little area in the tape mode. And I think that has made this 10 times better. I mean, he's got the long wings. But remember, he was a spy bot that could get into crevices that Laserbeak could not. So speeding in like this with little legs, a bat is perfect, and he looks grand. And in the comics, I think they made him a very identified figure. I think he was a sort of senator in IDW. I remember him in the Marvel comics as well, being quite significant considering his size. He wasn't just a spy bot like in the TV show. And then you got the nice rocket pack as well, because he's just hovering at times. So I think this is probably my favorite out of 2, and probably one that I was probably most excited. I really liked, I don't know, I've always liked Ratbat as a little bot. So I think great job. And you do have a stand, you can stick him on there like so. And then we go on Preceptor, whose alt mode I think was always a grand alt mode. Very, very simple. He basically turns into a telescope with and you can scan things on there. It would have been cool to have some little decos in there, so he's, you know, analyzing something. That I think would have been quite cool. And you can obviously lift this up. I can't remember if it doubled up as a weapon or anything, but you can lift up as well, so you can go into that direction, which I think is also very, very good. You get these little pieces here, piece on the top. So, which in some ways don't actually make sense, but in some ways it's pretty cool. And I think they made the most out of this bot in the show and made it work the best that they could, because Preceptor actually is quite a good character, just doesn't have the best alt mode. So, but not everyone was meant to have a good alt mode, right? So anyhow, that is this set. I'm quite pleased that it was finally released. It was very difficult in the UK to get. I think I ended up, I don't know, I was probably a bit of an idiot, to be fair. I think I bought a set on eBay, as you do. I just thought, you know what, I'm going to get that because I want to review that, because I missed out on the pre-order. And then 2 minutes later, I saw it in Smith's, like 15 quid cheaper. I was like, yeah, it was a dope moment. But anyhow, Smith, it's literally non-existent. I suspect Evil Bay is perhaps the only place you can get this, and in reality you only really want it if you've missed out on Preceptor the first time round, or because you want these bots. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. I really appreciate that. If you like my channel, please subscribe as well. I'd appreciate that as well. Thank you for taking time to watch this video. Thank you to everybody that subscribed to my channel already. Make sure you look after yourself, and as always, embrace geekiness. Take care. Goodbye.